Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Vectra podcast. We have another Stories from the SOC with Martin, who is on the Vectra MXDR team. Martin, you want to say hi, everyone?
Hey guys.
Awesome. So this is a part of sort of like a semi-series where we're just getting to know the awesome people at Vectra. We have two other videos from also people from the MXDR team, and then I think three other videos about people from our support team. Everyone is very, very smart, including Martin here. So we're just gonna get to know him a little bit better and know what he does at Vectra. So I want to start first with a question. Tell me about yourself, your cybersecurity background, if you have any, where you're from, and then any fun facts or hobbies you want to share with the viewers here.
Sure. Okay, so I'm old. I am the oldest member of the MXDR team. I've
Ooh.
forgotten more threat actors and vulnerabilities than I've had hot dinners. Um, I'm from Australia and I'm based out of Melbourne. I've got more than 20 years in IT, desktop, network engineer, and
Ooh.
support. And then the rest is purely in security, which is probably about 12 or so years.
Wow.
I'm married with two phenomenal boys that my wife should take the credit for, and two Rottweilers who apply the credit to me. But I think that's mostly because I work from home. In fact, I've got
Oh,
one of them who's making sure that I'm not saying anything untoward at the moment.
that's hilarious. What are their names?
Yeah, Daisy is the female. She's about 12, I think. And
Mm.
Turtle is the boy, who's about 9.
Did you say turtle? Turtle? Oh, that's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
if you've ever,
amazing.
it came from a Judy Bloom book.
Oh, I love Judy Bloom. I read those books when I was younger. Yeah, when I was younger, like all the time. So, yeah, that's amazing. That's really great. You've been in Australia all your life, then, I assume, from your accent.
Yeah, well, born here,
Mm.
contracted overseas for probably about 10 years or so. Um,
Oh,
I have a couple of passports.
wow.
I have family from Czech Republic, which is now renamed Czechia, and I've got family in the States, and I got family in England as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So I assume you've been all over the place and visiting. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Traveled. I think I traveled from about the age of about 18 through to sort of my mid 20s.
Oh, wow.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, you got a whole life in you right now, especially like what, 30 years in security and IT. So I mean like that really leads into my next question. You have a lot of experience in security. So can you describe your day-to-day at Vectra and if there's any part of it that you find the most fulfilling?
Okay, so I get up, I walk about 25 feet to my office. So I have a separate office at the back of, not even, it's not attached to my house, it's separate to the house. But I back
Mhm.
into a golf course. So I have to fight magpies and kookaburras to get into my office. Um,
Oh.
and then I start to work through basically the day-to-day thing is broken up into about 4 different sections. So those are the detections, tickets, emails, and then research and presentation. So
Hmm.
the detections are basically investigations that are prioritized from the customer site. So as
Hmm.
a member of the XDR team, we kind of act like an additional SOC for on-prem security teams. We manage
Right.
the platform and we teach you how to get the most value from it. Um,
Hmm.
Tickets are the requests from the customers. Sometimes they want more details on a detection. Sometimes they're hunting down something particular in their environment and they would like some help with it. Those are the sort of day-to-day tickets. Um, Emails is the bane of everyone's existence, and I don't need to explain those.
Yep.
Um, and then the research and the presentations are probably more the fun stuff. That's like today,
Mhm.
or maybe I'm doing a piece of research into a new vulnerability, or maybe I have a query from a customer that's a longer draw that I need to think through and run a project space on.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much my day to day. I'll check in, check out, spend the day talking to people, and occasionally I catch up with clients on site. Not as much anymore. Um,
Mhm.
Mostly these days it's pretty much 100% remote, which I'm not against. I'm kind of okay with sitting at home and working from here. I feel more comfortable here.
Mhm. Mhm. So what part out of your day there do you find the most fulfilling? Do you find the most interesting?
It's probably halfway between the detections
Mm-hmm.
and actually the presentations. I like solving puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what I do as a senior member of the team, sometimes I'll get rebounded ones from the junior guys who are looking at a ticket and they're like, I don't understand this. What does this traffic mean? And depressingly, with the years of doing this over and over again, I can recognize certain things. I can, oh, this is a patching server, or this is a particular backup product, or because I've seen a lot of different areas of that stuff, I can pick up benign versus malicious, not easily, but I think I have a better chance at it than possibly more junior guys that are getting into the space. So I'm sort of a rebound for that. And then if it's trying to solve a problem or trying to figure out what's going on, we had I hate missing red teams. I like catching them pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And if I miss a red team, then I take it as a personal affront, and I
Oh.
want to go after, and I want to figure out why. Not because red
Mm-hmm.
teams are bad. Red teams are there for a good purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that we're getting better and better at being able to help the customers actually detect the red teams, which means we'll pick up the malicious insiders or the malicious actors as well.
Right.
So more problem solving I enjoy doing.
Yeah, that's a very common thread among a lot of people here at Vectra, both on the support team and the MXDR team too. It's the problem-solving aspect. I think everyone on those teams are really, really good at it, including yourself. And I think it's just proves how knowledgeable the folks here at Vectra are to support the customers. And speaking of customers, actually wanted to ask you if there's been any moment, any fulfilling or insightful moment or story that you've had with a customer recently that you'd like to share.
So I suppose normally in a chat like this, I'd discuss, red teams or threat actors that we've actually picked up in environment. I dealt with a WannaCry outbreak recently, and
Ooh.
yeah, I know it's 2020, when was it, 2017? But in 2024, we're still seeing it, mostly in older environments, but it does still pop out. But I think I'm more blue team orientated in this kind of a conversation. So I checked a couple of different answers, and one of the ones was going to be pre-customer, right? So we did a demonstration of the MXDR team's value at one particular customer. And I usually do these blind. So the way it works is sales team will take me along to a meeting. I'll sit with a customer, and then I'll do what I call stunt hacking, where I'll basically live look at the environment, see the traffic that's in there, and try and have conversations and ask them about what's going on in there. As we were working through the traffic and the detections that were occurring, I found a dev server that was triggering exfiltration detections. It progressed. They actually called in an IT admin. And the long and the short of the story was that he was using their cloud instance to back up the client PII on a daily basis. So they freaked out a little bit. It wasn't a malicious activity. It definitely was sanctioned activity. And this is one of the things that we provide back as a product. It's one of the things that I really enjoy finding out. It's not necessarily that it's going to be a security incident. It's not going to be, something breaking into ransomware your data. Sometimes it is just as simple as just bad practices that we can pick up and have conversations about. What else? Something similar was I had a meeting with a client, and the first line that I brought up with him was, hey, I can see there's this new domain controller that has been detected in the environment. I just want to make sure that you know about it, because it's causing detections for domain syncing and the rest of it. And client went white, hung up the Teams call, and I think he rang me back about 30 minutes later, and he said DC was legitimate, but security team hadn't signed off on the change control. So it was not necessarily malicious activity, right? This is the thing, right? Yes, we do see red team attacks. Yes, we do see threat actor attacks and the rest of it. But a lot of the interesting stuff on a day-to-day basis is not necessarily malicious activity, but maybe bad practice, So it's using the security functions of the tools to actually go into something that's a little bit more useful. I did have another one where a client similar kind of conversation where a client was trying to catch these particular devices that it needed to patch, and they couldn't find them in the location because they were going on and off the network too quickly. So we wrote some additional things to use the network traffic to trigger an email to go to the IT desk. So as soon as this particular device would run onto the network, they would get a notification, and then at that point, they would immediately go out, grab the device, and patch it up for the situation. And it's not a specialist thing, but you have always got the traffic. We've always got the traffic there. We've got visualization of the traffic, and using it for different purposes.
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm hearing here, and like, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's a lot of what you're highlighting right now is active posture management. It's almost like proactive instead of something bad happens and then we're responding to it. We're already helping, as MXDR, we're helping customers, prevent really bad things from happening, basically, or putting themselves in a good security posture. Is that correct?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's something that we've been trying to highlight too. And I think it's a conversation that's been coming up quite often in the cybersecurity space. It's not like the reaction to threats now. It's more of the being able to, think 10 steps ahead of an attacker, making sure that we have those, those measures way beyond before it becomes like, oh, that's a threat. That's a bad thing. So that's really great that you're highlighting it. So thanks for speaking on that, Martin. And then my last question to you is, you have a lot of experience in security and IT, as you have mentioned, but out of all that, all the information, what do you think makes Vectra stand out the most among the market?
All right, I'll use the buzzword. Firstly, we use AI, which I know everywhere these days, including your dryer, has AI. But what I prefer to point out to people that ask this question is we've been doing it since 2011, right? So this is 13 years more than anyone else, and it is embedded into what we do. It is not an add-on. It is not a bolt-on feature. It is the core of what we do. So I was around when SIEM or SIM, depending on which way you wanted to pronounce it, was touted as the new solution, or the be-all and end-all solution. And it was the statement was grab the logs and then you have all the visibility. The problem with it is you end up with petabytes of logs. Now you have to write the use cases or the detections to actually make any sense of what it is that you actually have in your data. At Vectra, we concentrate not on specific vulnerabilities, but on activities, right? And there are kind of 5 activities that all threat actors, malicious insiders, they all kind of typically utilize at least one of these. We kind of got botnet monetization. So I think crypto mining, denial of service, or maybe just a pivot into an environment. CNC. So, once you've got the box, you've got to kind of give it controls and tell it what it needs to do. Recon, so port scans, RPC recon, just kind of moving through in the environment to see what's there. Lateral movement, sometimes you need to move across to a different area to get what it is that you're looking for. And then exfiltration. So once you've got everything that you want and you want to get out the door, then you've got to have a way to get out the door. So these are actually your use cases. These are your detections, right? We basically base all of the activities across those 5 different areas. And then we use AI to report on what has been changed, right? So let's say Bob is making an RDP connection to a domain controller. Well, Bob works into marketing and he's never done this. So something's weird, right? Alice also works in marketing, and she's authorized to use Dropbox, but today she accessed 15 different file shares and she's now uploaded a terabyte of data to Dropbox, and she typically does about 500 meg. The Dropbox one I like because a lot of times you write use cases to say, okay, the marketing team is allowed to upload, say, 500 meg of data or something like that. The problem with that is that it's static, right? Whereas because we only look at the outliers, we only look at the stuff that is not normal day-to-day BAU activity. If if Alice typically uploads 500 meg and all of a sudden she does 2 terabyte, well, that'll cause a detection because it's a change in activities. It may not be just activity, right?
Yeah.
And this is the thing that we need. That's the conversation that we have with the client. Hey, we saw this. Is that authorized? It gives you an opportunity to go, yes, it is. The one that I've caught a lot of times, is probably another example of this, is exfiltration after termination. So we see an account that gets disabled. It will automatically go back and have a look at, what was all of the activity for this user for the past 30 days. Sometimes we'll see them doing uploads and we'll actually tell you these are the shares they've accessed. These are the files they've kind of accessed, right? Yeah. Maybe Jay is making a HTTPS connection to some random website in Estonia and it looks like something running over the top of that HTTPS connection. And 10 minutes later, he's running a port sweep, right? And Jay's a member of the legal team. That activity doesn't match, right? It is different. It is strange. If you had to do that from firewall logs, from even NetFlow traffic, it is impossible to do because there's just too much data. Yeah. So when you actually take the AI and the ML and you add it into the mix and you basically say, okay, we're only interested in things that have changed or things that are different. And then I suppose because it is a requirement and because we always have to evolve, we can actually do static things as well, right? It has not been our mainstay, but one of the requirements for clients was, okay, we need to have an IDS. So we have Vectra Match, where we can take IDS signatures and we actually apply them to our standard tap sensors, right? So then if there is a particular vulnerability that you have something about, then sure, we can deploy a signature to it and we can do that. It is not what we do as a central core, but it is utilizing our tool for something additional. Other examples that I've done is I've started to look at, okay, let's connect the Vectra system into, say, the vulnerability scanner. The problem that we have with vulnerability scanners is that you scan from one IP and you go all the way through to the end one. And the problem is, John takes his laptop to work and then goes to lunch and you don't get to scan him. But what we're trying to do is to tie it into the vulnerability scanner to say, hey, John just logged on with his laptop. When was the last time you scanned him? 2 weeks ago. Do you want to have another go? Because he's on the network now. And then at that point, you can tie those things together. So we're making use of the security product, but at the same time, trying to work with additional security products. A lot of stuff that my team is doing at the moment is tying together EDR and the NDR into that whole kind of situation where, okay, I can see the data from a network perspective. Now let me get to the endpoint and actually, was this connection made by Chrome or was it made by a power connection or something along those lines? And that's kind of the next level of what we're doing.
Yeah. So what you're basically saying is the technology that ties everything together, that ties the logs together, that ties the behaviors, EDR, NDR. I think I definitely agree with you. I think the Vectra just pulls it all together in a way that's smart. It's efficient for the modern SOC now, especially a SOC that's in a hybrid environment where there's just so much to look at, so much to cover. Yeah. So I do see a lot of strength in Vectra. So I agree with you on that. Yeah. Any last thoughts, Martin, before we wrap up here?
No, nothing else exciting. If there is a requirement in the APAC region and you need somebody to come and demo, speak to the sales guys and maybe I'll get to come along and take a trip.
Yeah, and I'm really excited too, because Martin, you were such a hoot to talk to. So if you guys haven't checked this out already, we have an entire playlist of podcasts. We have a couple more of these great one-on-one discussions with very, very smart people at Vectra. So check us out on YouTube. We're also on Spotify. And Martin, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure speaking to you. And all right, have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.